Everyone. My name is Deandra Coleman. I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia SBDC is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 27 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one consulting services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, A Guide for Retail Renewal, is presented by the Virginia SBDC and is the second in a two-part series on reopening your retail space this summer. Be sure to watch the first part, a grand reopening celebration, which is available on our website. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box. If we're unable to get to your question, you can email us after the webinar. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session. Mark brings 35 years of experience in helping retail, restaurant, and tourism-related small businesses refine and promote their concepts to the public. In 1975, Mark started his retail career as co-owner of the largest distributor of Earth shoes in the U.S. Since then, he has held executive positions with retailers such as Riches of Georgetown, Crown Books, Circuit City, The Bicycle Exchange, eCampus.com, and StoreTracks Incorporated. Mark joined the SBDC in 2009 as a retail industry consultant and has delivered over 500 seminars and assisted over 1,000 retailers throughout Virginia. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Mark Wilson.
Good morning, everybody. Get a cup of coffee. We got lots to talk about. Let me refer to the webinar that Deandra mentioned, grand reopening. I just need to remind everybody what I asked the whole country to do. And that's, I think we have a couple things we need to celebrate. I don't believe that we've completely stamped out the virus, but we have it in retreat. We have the upper hand. We're moving toward herd immunity and we're getting people vaccinated about every way we can. So let's celebrate the fact that we put this virus in retreat and that we're moving back to pre-pandemic times. They won't be like they were before the pandemic because the pandemic was social changing. It changed the way people think forever. And we're the only generation that's lived through this kind of year and a half that we just went through. So let's celebrate putting the virus in control, or we have control of the virus. But the second thing I want to celebrate is shopping locally with your friends, neighbors, colleagues, and relatives that own stores in your town. And here's the important point. If you buy from a store that is owned and locally operated in your county, the money stays in the county to be spent over and over again. So the number is, if you spend $100 with a big box store, 70 of it leaves your county and goes to where that big box store is headquartered. So Walmart, 70 goes to Bentonville. Best Buy, 70 goes to Minneapolis. Home Depot, 70 goes to Atlanta and leaves, and it's called leakage. It's never spent again in your county because it's gone. But spending money with locally owned stores keeps the money here and it gets spent over and over again. So I've proposed that we grand reopen every town in America. And I propose that we do it over July 4th because Biden had put a goal of being 70% vaccinated by July 4th weekend. And we all look toward having crowds again and taking our masks off. The important thing is that every state may have a different set of protocols and you have to abide by your state's protocols. So do what you're being told to do through the CDC. But my opinion is that we keep everything safe and we wear masks for another couple months as we transition. And we talk about how we're kind of in an awkward phase where people don't know where whether to wear their masks or not, but we'll talk about that. So grand reopen. And if your town didn't get their act together to grand reopen your own store. You can have, we all know that towns are event driven. And most towns have 2 or 3 signature events they do a year, and they didn't do them last year because of COVID. So we need to dust off our manuals. We need to figure out how to, and I have a webinar that we could run again called Co-opetition and Eventacular. And basically it's how to run a good event that would benefit the local stores more than the outside vendors with chicken on a stick. You know, the events are for local stores to do well and to get recognized and get found. They may get found for the first time. And that's one other thing I need to mention. You got found by thousands of people over the holidays because thousands of people learned how to shop online during the COVID and might have found you for the first time. Move the slide. That's me. Kind of look the same. It's, I can get dressed up when I need to. I was in the clothing business for 12 years. So anyways, retail, restaurant, and hospitality is what I've been doing for 12 years throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. I also speak at the SBDC's national convention and have taken my program, STAMP, Small Town and Merchant Program, to over 32 states. So I've seen it all, and I've made about every mistake you can make. So I'm going to help you avoid some of those. So let's talk about some current trends and lessons we should have learned during 2020 and the first part of 2021. Trends. Well, here's an interesting statistic. For every store that closed during 2020, 5 have opened new stores. So you have some folks that were digital natives, companies that, Amazon, for an example, has opened some stores. So digital natives have started to provide or open some bricks and mortar locations. Another great example is Warby Parker, a digital eyeglass seller, has opened stores. So you have some other businesses that are opening stores as some of our businesses closed due to the pandemic. Listen, you can't have a reduction of 50% in walk-in traffic and not put some companies in trouble. Know this, the average small business has 8 weeks of working capital. That's it. So, you know, with 50% downturn in walk-in traffic, it puts some companies in trouble. We obviously lost some stores throughout COVID. Now, I see that as an opportunity too, because for the stores that have closed in your town, I bet they had categories of products that sold just fine. Who's selling those products now in your town? Well, it ought to be you or your colleagues, because those stores had some hot categories. They just happened to be in financial trouble, and COVID was enough to put them under. Here's something interesting. So Shopify ran a survey on the most top 10 products based on a Shopify survey in March of 2021. These are the top 10 categories on Shopify: baby clothes and accessories, virtual classes and experiences, interesting, exercise equipment, household cleaning products, beauty products, personal care products, groceries, athleisure clothing, clothing accessories, and pet supplies. Top 10 products categories on Shopify in March of 2021. Let's talk about some other trends. The trend that's not even listed here, well, it is in reverse, reverse e-commerce. What we mean by that is e-commerce companies that have opened physical stores, but e-commerce is a trend that happened during COVID and is going to remain popular for a long time. So you've got to consider, you've got to be you've got to have an e-commerce site. Now, I spent 12 years traveling the country telling small businesses they didn't have to worry about e-commerce, that they really needed a marketing website because they have to get found. And how do you get found in today's world? You get found on Google. So you got to have a good website. You got to be active. You got to be linked to other places. You got to have Google reviews. You got to, you have to be out there in the digital world. And you've got to get found, and people find you through Google. But as e-commerce continues to thrive, the need for privacy and data security is big. And I was asked this question before and didn't have an answer, but I have the answer now. How do you know that a site is safe to use with your credit card and giving them data over the internet? And the answer is the site will tell you that it's safe. It'll say that it's encrypted and that your data is safe on their site. So it'll say right on the site. So privacy and data security is important. Resale has become important. Thrifting, upscale thrifting. And we have those kinds of stores in our small towns. And upscale thrifting has become a whole category. So there is a bigger divide between the wealthy, and it's in a slide here in a minute. In fact, I'll talk about that when we get to the slide. So social commerce. Social commerce is, and I have a slide on that as well. Social commerce is being able to buy directly from Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest without having to redirect them to your website or your e-commerce site. You can sell to them right on those platforms and get credit for the sale directly. Social conscious, people are looking for you to be involved and committed to certain causes. So social conscious stores that stand for something bigger than a transaction to a customer, but stand for something that's charitable or something that provides a benefit to the town or raises money for certain charitable causes. People are looking for you to be bigger than just your store. Texting as a marketing vehicle is becoming extremely popular. You know that for years now, I've said, I hold my phone up and I say, see this device? It's changing retail more in the next 2 years than it's changed in the past 100. Now I got to say, see this COVID pandemic? It's changed retail more in the past 2 years than retail's changed in the past 100. So texting as a marketing vehicle is, people answer texts within 10 to 15 seconds. People might spend a whole day getting back to you on an email. But don't forget email. Email is still an important marketing feature, and it's the only data you really own of your customers and your purchase data that you keep in your point of sale system. Amazon owns their data, Facebook owns their data, Instagram owns their data. So emails are important. Continue to collect email addresses from your customers. And then retailtainment. We're looking to have fun again. Some forecasters have said we're moving into a period of hedonism and the roaring 20s, back to the roaring 20s. Listen, people want to be social again. They want to have parties. They want to go to big functions. They want to go to their favorite stores, and they want to shop again and be out and about. Retailtainment. We'll talk about that some more also. Okay, let's talk about some lingering challenges based on COVID and its effect on retail. Well, if you're in the e-commerce business, you're now managing two inventories. You got an online inventory and you got an in-store inventory. And you've got to balance both of those and make sure both have product available for those both platforms. So the best way to do that is a point of sale system that denigrates the right inventory when it gets sold based on where it got sold. Was it online through your online e-commerce store, or did you sell it in the store itself? And sometimes there's balancing that has to go on. And there are point of sale systems that actually automate that balancing. So dual inventory management online and in the store. The second thing that I've heard loud and clear is how difficult hiring has become. Not from a procedural standpoint, finding people that want to work in the service industry. And I think a couple things have happened. I think that the stipend that was put on top of unemployment during COVID presented some challenges in that the unemployed were making more money than you were paying them. And that's an issue. They'd rather not work and make more money than be out in the public, certainly during COVID. They didn't want to be exposed to the virus. And we all know that the service industry, retail, restaurants, and hospitality is a tough way to make a living. It's heavy in hours. The flexibility isn't what it is in other jobs because you're open X amount of hours. You got to have staffing for those hours. So I think two things have happened. I think unemployment, and that's coming to an end, I think, by the end of July, at least in the Commonwealth. And the other thing that's happened is people have had a year where they weren't working in retail or restaurants, and they've decided, based on soul searching, that that's not what they want to do. So some folks just aren't coming back to their previous jobs pre-COVID because they found something else or want to do something else. So some of the things that you need to think about should be things like rewards to your current staff for finding new people, a more flexible scheduling process that would fit into people's lives better, non-selling positions like shipping and packaging. You know, there may be some positions that don't require you to be a salesperson or work with people hand in hand. So there might be some behind the scenes type jobs that you need done. So you have to be creative. You have to be, you might have to invent some things that work, but hiring is going to continue to be difficult. Everybody's having that problem. I just got back from the Outer Banks, and even the fine restaurants don't have enough staff right now. So, you know, I saw this post on Instagram, and I think it's appropriate. Listen, stores and restaurants are understaffed right now. So don't go shopping or dining with an attitude. Give the people a break. It's not their fault. Access to capital and loan repayments. All that money the federal government gave out, some of it was forgiven based on how you spent it. So some of the loans, PPP and EIDL loans were, if spent properly, were grants and forgiven. But those loans are coming due again, and there's a whole nother tranche of money out there that people need. I mean, there are stores that are doing just fine. You know, I would tell you half the stores I've met with are ahead of last year. But there's a whole nother group that got really hurt by COVID and either are out of business or in dire straits from a financial standpoint. And the other thing that's happening is strong and divergent feelings and beliefs. People, and things are going to be awkward for a little while. Some states are saying no masks. Other states are saying still wear them. Some stores have decided to keep the mask protocol for the safety of their customers and employees. So it's a little confusing out there on what the protocols are. And people have strong feelings one way or the other, it appears. Either they're pro-masks or against masks. So things are going to be a little awkward for a while. So there's going to be some lingering challenges based on coming out of the COVID and getting back to some type of normalcy. And again, the new normal isn't the old normal. People will buy more online. People will use the internet more. In fact, I read somewhere that people are going to your website to make sure you have something in stock before they come to the store to get it. So they're either buying it and picking it up in the store, or they're just seeing that you have the inventory and coming down and shopping. And that's another good thing to have on your e-commerce website, by the way, live inventory numbers, where you can show some. There's only 2 extra larges of that polo shirt left. If you want it, you're going to want to buy it. Live inventory is a good thing. A good thing to have on your e-commerce site is live chat. Tidio is a plugin that you can put into your e-commerce site that allows you to live chat with your customers. The other good thing to do is bring people into your store via Zoom or Facebook Live and make it as if they're in your store, but they're just looking at it through a laptop or a cell phone. So things are changing. Shopping experience, new niche normals. What do I mean by that? Well, I said it earlier, there's a big divide between the top 5% folks in the country and the bottom 30%. And it's causing a polarization in product, mirroring the widening socioeconomic gap. So in essence, they're saying that ultra luxury items are very popular right now for those that have the money, and then thrifting and discounts and shopping for value and low price is a niche as well. So you got two sides. You got polarization, opportunities in both ultra luxury and discount markets. And then I say, make sure you realize the importance of your special sauce. And what do I mean by that? Well, your special sauce is what you do in your store that makes people love your store and your culture and your product and your employees and you. So people often ask, well, you travel all over the place and you go to towns. I've heard you say that you can find a store in every town in America that's doing just fine. And what makes that store do just fine while others are struggling? It's their secret sauce. It's really the personality, the vibration, the energy, the store, how it looks, curb appeal, the vibe, how it feels. You're in the relationship business, folks. You're not in the product to customer business. You're in a business of creating relationships, because your most profitable customers are your loyal shoppers that shop with you all the time. I'll bring up 3 80-20 rules right now. You may want to write these down. There's lots of 80-20 rules in retail and restaurants. So one is that good salespeople listen 80% of the time and talk 20% of the time. That's your first 80-20. Second, 20% of your customers produce 80% of your revenue. So there's a good, loyal group of customers that you can count on that spend money with you day in and day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. And they are paying your bills. They're your top 20% customers. And they're producing 80% of your revenue. And the last 20% is 20% of your inventory provides 80% of your revenue. So the small business owner has to always be watching who's shopping with me and how do I find more of those folks and what's selling and how do I find more of that. And you know what's happening to supply chains. I would try to encourage you to broaden your access to vendors. Don't put all your eggs in one basket with one vendor, because you never know what's going to happen to that supply chain. So I recommend that you try to find some backups, have a plan B in case something happens to plan A. So what are some of the opportunities that COVID has presented to us? Let's talk about that, bricks and mortar. So I'm a proponent right now, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but if I think you ought to have looked at all your expenses, every expense that you spend money on, you ought to have analyzed and make sure you're being as efficient as humanly possible. So there's three big buckets when you think about small business and retail. And here they are. One is your rent or your lease. Okay, that's a big bucket typically. Second bucket is your payroll. And your third big bucket is cost of goods sold. So money to buy inventory. So when we talk about bricks and mortar, there's this movement to do, and it's not a new movement. It's probably been, I've been talking about it for 12 years. Do the most business you can do out of the fewest square feet possible, because rent's a big number. And we have some opportunities that have come up with folks that are sharing their space with another retailer. You'll have to look at your lease, but you might be able to sublease some of the space that you're not effectively using to another retailer that needs space but doesn't need a whole. And your old department stores that used to be in downtown in the 50s and 60s, well, they're not there anymore, and there's usually not one retailer that can fill that whole space. So you have big vacant spaces that are being leased by a number of retailers, 6, 7 even, sharing the same space. So my point is, if you can share space and share rent, you're reducing one of your biggest expenses. My point is, if something can be negotiated, and know this, you don't get what you don't ask. And I've heard tons of stories during COVID where the landlord has been flexible with their rent or mortgage based on how difficult bricks and mortar retailing was for about a year and a half. So sharing space, reducing space, pop-up shops, pop up a shop where traffic is heavy. So pop-ups are becoming popular again. So there's more than one way to go bricks and mortar. Channels, there's new channels for shopping. There's social commerce, selling through Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. So there are additional channels for you to sell. And when we talked about pivoting your business during COVID, we didn't mean necessarily changing the way you currently do business, although you probably needed to do that as well to stay relevant to a changed customer that COVID has changed forever as it relates to e-commerce and whatnot. But we also meant finding new revenue streams that are entirely new to your business. I mentioned that there are stores that have closed that had categories that were popular. Somebody should be selling those. So you should be looking for revenue streams that you might not have ever considered before. And just ask somebody that wrote a business plan 5 years ago for their business. Ask them if their business is the same as it was as they proposed in their business plan. Ask them that, because your business will morph as the customer morphs, and there's nothing that changed the customer more for our generation than a pandemic showing up. So consider new channels of revenue. Shopping experiences have changed. Appointment shopping. If you look closely at this slide, this is an empty store.
Security Services.
If you look closely at this slide, you'll see that it's an empty location, that they've put product in the window. And it says, we've created these temporary spaces along on South Moulton Street to encourage safe shopping and support independent brands. Want to try for size? Book a one-on-one socially distanced personal shopping appointment with us here. And you scan the QR code and you either call them or you email them to make an appointment to see the product line. Virtual shopping, personal shopping, virtual queues. for a while when we were 6 foot distancing, you'd see stores with lines outside, people waiting to get in. Well, now you can do that virtually by signing up for an appointment online and showing up when you get your personal half an hour or 45 minutes of shopping with someone assigned to you. And thoughtful curation of items. That's another way of saying merchandising is important. You've got to tell stories with the merchandise. You've got to create vignettes. You've got to light it like you're lighting a stage with spotlights and track lighting. Everything's important. Everything's been highlighted. Everything, when I tried to encourage everybody to grand reopen, my feeling was we've hit a reset button. Everybody's had time for introspection, look within, soul searching. People have had time alone and have made decisions based on having time to really check in with themselves. So know that, and know that the customer may have, listen, what I tell my clients now, think about serving your customer, not selling your customer. Because people got shook up. Listen, this pandemic was something else. I mean, people are still shook up, and it's going to be awkward for a little while. And I read that the lingering effect of the pandemic will last for 10 years. People will be concerned about their safety and their well-being for another 10 years. And then I've said this, and I mean it, revenue streams, it's your business, it's your community. Shop locally and keep the money in your county. So revenue streams for your towns are incredibly important, and it fuels the infrastructure and the financial footing of your town and your community. So be involved, volunteer when asked, help the town. Listen, I believe in co-opetition. What the heck is co-opetition? Co-opetition is the merger of competition and cooperation. And towns that work together, I believe this, all boats rise with the tide. So if the town's doing well, every individual store has the opportunity to do well. So treat the community with care. Payment options, talked about this briefly, but secure, content. The number one sticking point for online shopping is the payment process. Customers are looking for it to be secure, contactless, and frictionless. So no brainer, no muss, no fuss, scan your phone, you're done. Don't touch anything. So you have to be able to do that. And you should be cause-driven, social conscious, community engagement, charitable contributions, responsible sourcing, diversity and equity, be part of the change. So causes, and there are 4 C's that the customer is concerned about right now. Convenience, caution, cause, and community. So I've talked about all 4 things. And cause is the third thing. The second thing is caution. People still don't want to be exposed to the virus. So know that. And convenience over time has beat out caution as the top thing on the consumer's mind. Convenience. I got used to shopping online. I got used to picking stuff up at the curb. I got used to you delivering stuff locally. I got used to you shipping me things. Convenience is the number one driver right now. So you got to make it easy. You got to make it easy. You got to make it fun. You got to have retailtainment. You got to have some secret sauce. Come on. Business operations, take stock of your current position. What do I mean by that? I mean, what's your cash flow break even? What do you have to do a month to pay your bills? And then I want you to, when you having a cup of coffee in the morning or a glass of wine at night, take out a piece of paper and say, what would happen to me if I have a 10% decrease in revenue? What would happen to me if I had a 20% decrease in revenue? What would happen to me if I had a 20% increase in revenue? Do some pro formas. And what you're doing is you're really assessing your risk. Am I in trouble or am I in good shape? Shall I make hay while the sun's shining? And should I bank some of that money so that I have more than 8 weeks worth of working capital if something happens? So take stock, particularly in your financial position, but I think you ought to take stock in your mindset. Are you ready to transition from survive to thrive? Because other businesses are doing it. And here's some questions for you. What surprised you the most about COVID and doing business during a pandemic? What were you prepared for? What were you ready to handle? What was something new that you started doing that you want to keep doing? What are things that you did in the past that are no longer relevant to your customer? And you need to stop doing those things and find new revenue streams. So, this is not new. It's just been catapulted to the forefront because of COVID. These are things small businesses look at all the time. You're always looking for that top 20% product, and you're always looking for your top 20% customers. So it's not necessarily new, but it's under new circumstances. Maybe it's in a different context. And I think mentally, physically, mental is as important as physical in terms of overall health. So understand your finances. What's your break-even point? What are your top sellers? What's your larger expense items? What can you tweak? Reevaluate your space. Consider creative use or reuse of your space. Could you do business in many retailers have learned to do more with less? Smaller retail space, shared retail space, pop-up spaces with others. Others have reconfigured their space for less in-store space and more inventory e-commerce shipping space. So we've seen it particularly with larger stores that might be doing more volume with e-commerce, but they've had to take a portion of their retail selling space and turn it into a hub, a fulfillment hub of shipping and local delivery and, fueling the e-commerce sales. So some have done that as well. So assess how you're using your space, look at your lease, talk with your landlord, and see if subletting is a reality and whether you could do business in less space. So reevaluate your space. Slip us out. Past a slide there. Consider your staffing needs. Evaluate how you're treating your team. I mentioned this before. Do you know what's important to them beyond pay? Certainly the $15 an hour controversy is heating up, but how can you live in this part of the country and make less than $15 an hour and be able to rent an apartment or live in a house? I mean, come on. So what's important to your employees other than pay? Is it flexibility? Is it safety? Is it opportunity? Is it them learning new skill sets based on their job? Can you do it with less employees? Cross-training is a huge topic right now so that you could get the job done with your current staff, because finding people is going to be difficult. We've already talked about it. Finding employees. And what I found in the years that I ran stores, and I ran stores and restaurants and hospitality for about 4 decades. Deandra gave me a 5-year discount, but it's been 40 years. And I'll tell you, the best way to find people is through the people that already work for you. And the other way that I hired good part-timers were some of my best customers, because they already love the concept, they love the culture, they love me, they love the staff. They were already, groomed to sell product in my stores. So that's an important concept. And so is keeping customers, employees safe. Think the long term. This is still an evolving area. Think and invest in long term. Do what's safest for you and your employees. A customer who is not willing to abide by your policies is likely not your ideal customer. Keep it simple and keep it plain. Make it easy. We 6-foot distance and we wear masks in this store. And maybe put a poster on the door that says that, or better yet, a short video on your website that talks about what you do differently than it talks about your secret sauce. 30 seconds, that's the attention span of an adult. So a 30-second video talking about what you do, how you do it, why you do it, and most importantly, why the customer should care. And then spend 10 seconds just briefly. We wear masks, 10-foot distance, and we clean the store all day long. But tell the customer what to expect when they get there. No surprises. Next, we're going to talk about developing your 2.0 strategy. What is your strategy? Realign yourself with your why. What is your mission statement? What's your vision? What's your values? What gets you up in the morning? Why are you in business? Why is it important to you and your customers? So here's a good one. Realign yourself, fall back in love with your business. What do you have to celebrate? What can you and your staff celebrate and have an event within your store? Maybe it's a grand reopening. What can you celebrate with your customers? What might a grand reopening look like for your store and your town? I can bring a horse to water, but I can't make you drink. But I know from doing this for 12 years that small towns are event driven. And we got to dust off our manuals and start having events again. And if you don't have one scheduled for the town, schedule one in your store. Have a macro perspective. Look at your business in the context of your town and your category. Are you still relevant? What is the future? Are there any gaps that you can fill? That's the macro. That's the macro look. What stores have vacated town? What were they selling? Can we be selling that? Who's contacted their customers to invite them to shop with the other stores in town? You know that those stores that closed had email lists. See if you can get your hands on it. Then the micro perspective. Understand your top selling platforms. What are the new ways that you're getting found? Reimagine ways to increase your customer base. A new customer strategy. Continue to explore new and alternative revenue streams. This is not just a pandemic pivot. So you have a macro perspective and a micro perspective. Customer expectations. I talked about convenience, caution, cause, and community. Omni and all channel. Customer wants to get the product they want the way they want it. So there are 5 A's. When it comes to 5 A's of the customer, it's anytime, any place, anyhow, and any way. So it's whatever they want. You have to be able to execute in that manner. So you have to be consistent across all platforms and channels. And you have to have secure and seamless payments. You have to have fast delivery. Amazon has taught the American consumer, or the world consumer, Amazon's taught them to expect same day or next day delivery. And they expect it from the the privately owned little store in their town as well. And serve them with elegance and ease. Just make it a no-brainer. In-store things are going to be a little awkward for a while. Some folks want to wear masks, some keep their distance, others want to yearn to return to their pre-COVID shopping habits. Omni-channel delivery, consistent on-brand experiences are a necessity across email, mobile, and your website and beyond. Omni-channel and all-channel must be implemented to give the customer the very best experience they can have and want. And you ought to take that into account when you're talking about your customer service strategy. People have built-in preferences on how they discover and buy products, so you have to be able to deliver on that. Personalization, being a personal shopper for your good customers is somewhat easy in today's world because most point of sale systems keep track of purchase records. So the way to personalize a sale is to refer to things that they already own, that they've already bought from you, and that you know what they like, you know what they like to spend, you know what their taste level is, and you just you personalize through your point of sale. Live chat, video conferencing, and the mobile phone conversations are key to bringing the customer back. Retailers must engage with society and with issues that people care about. Purpose. Everybody needs a purpose. And retailtainment your way. Serve, don't sell. Practice empathy, be responsible. Immersive, Instagrammable experiences, AKA retailtainment, must bring the brand alive in a way that digital alone can't. You with me? In a way that digital alone can't. It's your special sauce. Make it fun. Make it entertainment. People want to come to town and spend all day there. So make it retailtainment, make it fun, make it immersive. Don't serve, don't sell, be responsive, practice empathy. See, I said this already. Everyone's struggling with something you know nothing about. So just practice kindness. Grand reopenings throughout the state over July 4th weekend. Celebrate winning the battle with COVID and shopping locally. So I think it's 20 after. We usually keep 10 minutes for questions and answers. Schedule a session with me. If you want a virtual an appointment with me, I'll give you an hour of a virtual one-on-one to talk about the specifics of your business. I'm inviting each of you. Deandra will give you a way to get a hold of them or her, and we'll give you some instructions for seeing this whole presentation online. We put it on our website, SBDC's website. So I'm going to open the mic for Deandra. She's much better looking than me anyway, and nicer. So have a listen to Deandra.
Mark, you're so funny. Yes, I put in chat if you want to meet with Mark and bring this energy to a one-on-one, help at virginiasbdc.org.
Now, I won't make you cry like Gordon Ramsay, and I won't cuss at you. So go ahead. It's not a scary. Well, it can be scary if you don't know what you're talking about. But what I promise you is I will tell you the truth, but I won't make you cry. How's that?
We have one question here.
Yeah.
Do you have some examples of retailtainment?
Retailtainment?
Yeah.
Yeah, retailtainment is have an event in your store. That's retailtainment. Have a contest. Have a raffle. Have a local celebrity in your store for an afternoon. Have a vendor rep in your store. Have the reps that represent your top vendors in your store for a demonstration. People love demonstrations. If you have something you can educate someone on, that's retailtainment. Guess what else they like to do? They like to eat and drink. Why don't you have some refreshments sometimes? You know, live music. What if you had a guitar player in your store? That's retailtainment. Come on.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I think, just my 2 cents, I think a lot of this is just going to be, I know it's so hard for all of you business owners, but it's just going to be revamping your brain and rethinking things and reassessing. And it's going to be such hard work, but we're just going to have to push
So
through and it'll get better.
Let's paint that with a positive note. Let's say that you've done all that soul searching and you've made all those decisions and you've changed the way you do business. Now you want to enjoy it.
Mhm.
Let's
That's
reopen and have fun again. Let's have the roaring 20s. Let's move
That's right.
into
That's
let's
right.
move into a period
I
of
like it.
hedonism.
I like it. I like it. All right.
I made your baby cry. I got so excited.
See, you made someone cry. All right, everyone. Well, you will be receiving an email with a link to the recording, to the evaluation, and the slides. If you want to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, you can go to virginiaspdc.org/training. Also on our website is the COVID Business Recovery Center, which can help you continue business operations, thrive, and recover, which is what we're talking about coming up this summer and beyond. So these resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors, as well as with Mark. So we have plenty of resources for you guys. Please reach out. It is free and confidential. You can email for any of those resources or for any questions. Email us help@virginiaspdc.org or at our website. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you again, Mark, for bringing the energy.
You're welcome. And I just
positivity.
want to reiterate that when I do a one-on-one, I am under the auspices of the SBDC. So I follow the same protocols. Everything's confidential. There's no cost for the one-on-one, and we're non-judgmental. That's
right. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Well, we hope to see you all at the next session. I am sure we will have more with Mark. So keep an eye out for that, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Mark.
Yep, you're welcome. Have a great 4th, everyone, and grand reopen.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.